And it's Thursday here at the Watch Party on the Watch List. I'm Jayar Jackson, as usual. We got lots happening. Glad you could be here. I should have been late today, man. I should have been late, just because I was like maybe 2 minutes away from the coffee that I was just making. I was trying to time it out so I could come in with it because I have a this stuff gets cold really fast. A bunch of things you guys don't care about, but I'm here. I'm on time. I'm glad you guys are as well. The week is motoring on by. We only got another day until Friday. Hope you guys are getting your drinks together for tomorrow's, you know, drinking fest. I've only got a couple weeks left of these energy drinks, at least on Fridays. And the other times that I'll be drinking them from now on, once New Year starts, will be when you guys won't know. So I get to go ahead and sneak them in. It just won't be regularly, like every week. I haven't felt any effects yet, but we'll see. So as you guys saw from the title, there's a lot of things going on. We got our U.S. military doing some piracy in off the coast of Venezuela. We got more attacks from ICE agents as usual, but there's some details behind it. There's some testimony that was actually pretty intriguing to me, as some of the survivors and victims of these folks are telling their stories, because I'm always looking for the next step of what it is that we're looking to do. We need some action from the people who have positions of power where they can take part in any kind of action. So I want to make sure I stop getting my mind so much on being wrapped up with the stupidity, the hatred, the division, and the racism, the bigotry, and the misogyny, and all that stuff, and still point that out. But then we got to start talking about how to change that. We got to stop being afraid of saying things like they need to be arrested, get them the hell out, things like that. So, with all that said, why don't we go ahead and get started? Maybe you guys have seen this all going down, but I want to dig deeper and how bad things like this really look, and why it's such a disaster that we're continuing to increase these types of attacks, these types of seizures even. Maybe you guys saw this is going on. It's not just little boats that they claim have drugs on them. This is the real meat and potatoes of why these guys are trying to patrol our hemisphere, as Pete Hegseth keeps saying. Let's start here. That was not leaked video. That was not some whistleblower blowing the lid off of the latest things that this administration is doing. That was released by our government themselves. That unclassified, as you saw at the top there, video details of them landing on an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela and seizing it, taking it over, armed, flying in from helicopters and things like that. So they're proud of this. Similarly, how they were proud of all of their boat attacks. Then again, until someone started asking, that's illegal, right? What are you guys doing? Again, you don't have to listen to me. Listen to the guy who's bragging about it.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an interesting day from the standpoint of news. As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening. So you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people. Well, thank you very much.
So Donald Trump doing his best piracy impression, but he's very happy to announce the biggest oil tanker ever has been seized, biggest probably ever, largest ever seen, no one's ever seen before. He completely made that part up too. I'm pretty much ready to assume anything that's bigger, greater, grander, and everything that he says he's a part of is most likely a lie. But you probably don't want to be boasting and bragging about this, because you jumped on a ship, took it over, and are now talking about how that's just some kind of normalcy. So they'll announce things like that so that we can have this whole thing in our brain where we're supposed to think that's fine, that's normal. Look, they're admitting to it. He also admitted to being a rabid racist the other day. It doesn't mean that it's okay. I mean, he didn't have to admit to it. He shows us that every day. But There's a little point of irony here. Uh, Donald Trump's been going on these racist tirades, specifically targeting Somalis here in the country, specifically up in Minnesota area, and he talked really bad about the country of Somalia. And in talking about these boat strikes, I think it kind of all adds up to who he's been talking trash about is who it is that he actually is.
We always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
Say what now? The only thing that those dirty, filthy, disgusting criminal Somalians are good at is going after ships. As he brags about going after ships, as he brags about patrolling in and having armed military men flying in and taking over a ship. It's almost like all the things that he says about other countries, including the whole thing about shithole countries, is what it is that he represents. He's a pirate. He needs to put a patch over his eye or something and start saying arg all the time, because this asshole likes to commit crimes. It's weird. A 34-time felon sits in the White House, and ever since he got there, he's been committing crimes and has been acting like those crimes aren't crimes. When you put a criminal in a position of power, he starts ignoring the rule of law, the Constitution, and all other military norms. I'll remind you one more time the reason why. He's a criminal. So here he is then talking about what we'll do with that oil, because maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they blocked them off and said, you're not supposed to be in these type of waters. This is some kind of aggressive territory. Maybe he'll have an answer for that.
In the seizure of this tanker, what happens to the oil on that ship? Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where
Follow it. Get a helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to?
But I assume we're gonna keep the.
The great the commander in chief has no idea what they're going to do with the oil that they just stole. I guess we'll keep it. What kind of foreign policy process is that? I suppose, hey, journalist who's sitting in the room who just was told about this whole thing, how about you find out where we're going with this? And then, by the way, the ways you could find out from a journalist perspective what they're doing with the oil that he guesses we'll just keep, even though he's been preaching about stealing oil from them for years. The way that reporter would find out would be maybe being in the Pentagon press briefing and maybe asking the Pentagon officials what it is that they're doing with this, the next steps after this piracy that we've pulled off. But he wants them to go follow it. You're a good newsman. Go follow the helicopters. So if they go follow the helicopters and determine where it is that this oil tanker is being taken to and what we're going to do with it and what the next steps may be, you know what this asshole will start saying? You guys have no right to question me on this. You have no right to talk about what is it I'm doing. What are you following oil tankers? That's an illegal act. That's aggressive in the United States military. He'll say all kinds of things that he doesn't want people actually going to find out when he doesn't have the answer in the first place, as they've also walled off actual reporters and journalists from Pentagon briefings or from even talking to anyone in the Pentagon or surrounding it about what it is that they're doing. They'd rather dispatch, other folks to say that these things are legal and normal and justified, send them on TV and have them, go through the talking points rather than them explaining themselves. Here's one of those women. This is national security analyst Beth Sanner. I'm not sure in the background she's worked with, but she's been all in the back canals of all of these agencies that nobody trusts. Here she is talking on CNN about what it is that's happened with that oil tanker and how great and normal it all is.
Seizing a tanker, how could this escalate the conflict with Venezuela?
Well, we've had sanctions on Venezuelan oil since the first Trump administration. And
Biden kept them.
Yeah. So to me, this is absolutely normal. I mean,
seizing an oil tanker?
Yeah. We've been seizing Iranian oil tankers in the past. We also, according to the law that I've read, that oil is up for forfeiture. So we could keep that. We've kept Iranian oil in the past. So I actually think that this is less controversial in terms of law and sanctions and what has been, disputed or not disputed. Like, I think this is actually a pretty, check the box case. Mm-hmm. Now, what will this mean in terms of escalation? What is he going to do? What is Maduro going to do? Is he going to step aside because we're sanctioning this oil? I mean, we pick up this oil tanker. It's one oil tanker, probably not.
And it's unlikely.
You see how when you dispatch certain people to go talk about these types of actions and have them give this very flippant energy and attitude, what are they going to do? It sounds like a gangster. What you going to do about it? Except we have a different accent, we have a different face, and a person in front of the cameras making this seem all very nice, smooth, and normal. We've taken other oil tankers before too. In what scenarios, in what circumstances? There's all kinds of different conflicts, sanctions that are put in place that are agreed upon by multiple nations, potentially UN, all this types of stuff, right? But instead, we'll just listen to one woman say, "We do it all the time." Well, you know what? There's a lot of things that we do all the time that isn't right, but it doesn't mean we should continue to do them. And in what other instances were those when it happened? There needs to be a level of curiosity where those questions are asked rather than just simply accepting them. It's odd, like, but it works. So why would they put in any more effort to say or do anything that explains this if no one's going to actually ask them or hold their feet to the fire or make sure that they're accountable for all of these actions? They just do things. So, I saw this and I saw some people outraged by it. I saw folks that were not many, but folks that were talking about how great and normal it is, and yeah, the oil. Um, so I tried to look into a little bit, and we'll see to what degree that this is all, to my research on it, makes a lot of sense, because someone did point out that this whole unilateral sanction on this country and just say so at any moment, I'm not sure when, it isn't really all that big of a deal to do under this these special procedures from the United Nations, I'm sorry, Human Rights Council. So I looked up this document. I wanted to see what it is that makes this, in their opinion, seem so normal. So again, like I pointed out, these are lists, there's multiple pages of these special procedures. United Nations Human Rights Council, the United Nations, which I thought we were a part of, which many times these MAGA conservatives and other conservatives in general don't want us to be a part of, because we have to have some kind of a accountability to other nations because we live in this world and we're not isolated like this administration is forcing us to be. But they talked about, in this one aspect of it, these unilateral coercive measures. It says that they're illegal under international law and shall be lifted. Look at the date, the 4th of December of this year. It's pretty recent. Maybe that's what it was. They're used to all the norms, and as of the 4th of December, there's this UN agreement that is no longer allowing for these things to happen. Here's details of that in these pages that follow that. It says, we underline that unilateral coercive measures are illegal under international law. They violate core principles set forth in the UN chapter, such as the principle of sovereign equity, non-intervention into domestic affairs, principle of the respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. They impede economic growth and full achievement of sustainable development goals, disproportionately affecting least developed and developing countries. Such measures undermine basic human rights, such as the right to life, the right of a right to dignity, the right of everyone to the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health and medical care, the right to freedom from hunger, and the right to an adequate standard of living, food, education, work, and housing, as well as the right to development and to the right to a clean health, and sustainable environment, etc. It says. So as you can see, it's focused mainly on like maybe larger powers, bigger countries that like to go and do whatever the hell they want, and then strip other smaller nations, as they point out, their least developed and developing countries, from all of these normal human rights. They're human rights violations because, as similarly, when we were bombing, still are, bombing random boats in the Caribbean and claiming that they're all drug boats, you could be affecting other folks. You've killed people that are doing normal, innocent things. Maybe that's part of their livelihood. So as people just want to talk about how anything Donald Trump says goes, one of those big reasons we shouldn't do that is because he doesn't know anything and will violate rules and laws and international things like that, and then also then violate people's human rights. But fascists, specifically these white supremacists, don't care about other humans and their rights. That's why they're white supremacists. It's also the reason why, before this white supremacist fascist got in the White House, people are trying to warn you, he's a white supremacist fascist. He will carry out actions and agendas that fit that whole idea of where they come from. So they'll violate human rights. They'll kill people. And then after they're doing all this violating of human rights, killing people, putting up videos of it, as some kind of like violence and bloodthirst porn for all of their followers, afterwards, what this gangster will do is he'll then go talk about how he's going to do it to somebody else.
We have three countries sending drugs to the US: Mexico, Venezuela, and Colombia. And you talked to the president of Mexico, you already talked to Nicolas Maduro. Have you considered talking to the president of Colombia, who you call a drug leader?
No, I haven't really thought too much about him. He's been fairly hostile to the United States, and I haven't given him a lot of thought. He's going to have himself some big problems if he doesn't wise up. Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up, or he'll be next. He'll be next too. And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next. Yes,
Mr. President.
because we don't like people when they kill people, and they sell drugs. They kill them in the United States, and Colombia is a major manufacturer of drugs, meaning cocaine in particular, as you know.
The threats are going to the next country. So now it's Colombia, and it's President Gustavo Petro that he's threatening there. To take off this whole very thin layer of him being a president. And if this gangster's sitting around a table and telling someone else he's going to be next, he's going to have himself a lot of problems on his hands. I want him listening now. He's going to be next. That's next on my war crimes list, is going after this guy. Or you're just starting this whole conflict, the slow burn for this Venezuelan conflict. So I guess, go on and start barking about Colombia next, based off of, get this, they produce a lot of drugs. A lot of drugs are produced and they're sent up here. He wants you to forget that he just pardoned the former president of, where is he from? Damn, I'm blanking, but the former president that he just pardoned, based off of this drug production, based off of how he wants to pump drugs into America, wants to stuff a bunch of cocaine up of these gringos' noses. And he pardoned him, and his excuse was that somebody came and told me that he was treated unfairly, like I was treated unfairly. Also, that just because he's a president of a country doesn't mean he participated in the drug trade. Isn't it weird that all that can apply to the guy that he pardoned, but it doesn't apply to the guy that he's now threatening and saying that, up next is him? Because he's a tough guy who hides behind a desk and forces other folks to go and fight his wars as he's begging for Nobel Peace Prizes. He's a gangster. He's a thug. He's a piece of shit. It's kind of clear. So while he's starting these next conflicts, as he's boarding more ships, as he's bragging about being a pirate while calling other countries that have pirates that do the same type of stuff shitholes, while all that's happening, he then never wants to talk more about those previous things that he's got himself tied up in, that he's upset here in this clip that someone's asking him about.
Mr. President, has Secretary Hegseth told you why he hasn't released the video of the second strike?
No, he hasn't. I thought that issue was dead. You're surprised you bring it up. You must be.
Lawmakers are
You
still
must be
talking.
CNN.
Lawmakers are still
Are you
talking about it
CNN?
on the Hill.
Are you CNN?
I am CNN.
Don't you have a shot to find out?
But lawmakers are still talking about it on the Hill.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know about lawmakers. Which lawmakers you talking about?
Mostly Democrats have been
Talking
talking
about
about trying to release
I
it.
mean, the people that you work for, the Democrats? You know you work for the Democrats, so you're basically an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. You want to talk?
Apparently, from some of the reports from that, he cut off that press conference after that question. I guess he was agitated by a question about this ongoing this scandal, the latest from Pete Hegseth with his potential war crimes for killing those two more guys after they bombed their boat the first time. But similarly to the way he talked about Jeffrey Epstein and said, why are you guys still talking about this? He said, I thought that was over. Why would you think that's over? Why would you think the thing that you haven't even revealed the information on is over? Why would you think that no one wants to talk about this anymore? Do you see how this works? He thinks he can move on from one horrible thing that they've done right on to the next. And when someone asks him a follow-up a week later, because I always asked him, I was like, why aren't journalists coming back and double backing saying, When are you guys gonna finally clear this up? Because we've gotten zero answers on it. He doesn't like that. He doesn't want any accountability. He doesn't want any of this transparency that he keeps talking about. It's coming from this administration. He just wants to kill people, claim that they're all drug dealers and rapists and murderers and criminals, while his criminal ass does all of this and then sends off another video of them doing more criminal things. Well, she did mention that person from CNN that somehow this interview or this press conference turned into him berating her and saying, "You work for the Democrats." I need these journalists to start banding together and start asking him the question until he runs off again like he did there. But anyways, one of the things she mentioned was politicians on the Hill are still talking about it. He doesn't want them to still talk about it, but here Senator Mark Warner was still talking about it.
The video that I saw last week, I believe the American people deserve to see. And even if you would argue, well, there are sources and methods, I'm not sure I accept that argument, but sure as hell, at least members of Congress ought to see, because they all have appropriate clearances. And it's a little strange where administration officials say, well, we can release edited versions of videos that they like to brag about, but then not at least show the immediate moments up to and including the second strike that took place on September 2nd.
It doesn't add up, and he doesn't want people continuing to ask. Because as he pointed out, yes, they do release videos. They love releasing videos of the things they did. We just saw them release videos of them hijacking an oil tanker. So I guess if or when that shit hits the fan, they're going to start saying, no, we don't need any videos. Why are you guys still talking about this? It's not like we brought it up and like we defended it. And it's not like the president then claimed we're going to keep that oil. I just have no idea why or where it's going. Should anyone trust this administration? What's the basis for trusting the things that they say and they do? He says he doesn't even know. So why would we trust him? Mark Warner had more revelations that he's trying to find out.
Did the secretary had said give you an update on the status of reviewing the video? He said that he's reviewing it for
That is, I got the question, or he said he's still on a review process. But again, even if you grant the secretary all the benefit of the doubt and say, under this multi-hour video, some parts might be fall into that category, which I don't believe I would accept. But how you can suddenly say, well, we're going to release videos of a boat and then our strike action, but we're not willing to release the video when the survivors are identified before the strike takes place, in my mind, doesn't pass any kind of smell test on any kind of difference there.
What's the video?
He's just breaking down how and why they're really trying to avoid all this. We saw Hegseth talk about it before. They're reviewing the process now. The reviewing process means, hey, you guys, maybe you'll stop talking about it long enough for us to move on to the next war crime that we're looking to commit. I guess the complacency is there to a degree, but I am seeing more people asking. I'm seeing more people like Mark Warner wanting to go get those answers, and he's looking for those answers. So that's the action part that I keep talking about. I'm hoping that we get to. So the next steps maybe will come. I heard that Kristi Noem right now is speaking to politicians and folks on committees over this whole thing. Not necessarily this, but the rest of her dangerous and illegal actions. So I'm sure she's given a bunch of normal talking points. Maybe they didn't tell her to go the route of Pam Bondi to try and attack the people asking you with, scribble notes on your paper about how to go about that. But hopefully, maybe the accountability is starting to come because, more people are turning on these guys because I think they finally realized what it is that they're about. It's raping and pillaging this country as well as anything nearby. And, and speaking of that, that leads me right into this next story. Did you guys know that Trump's Gestapo has now, as we point out, they're up in Minnesota, Minneapolis area, and also down in Louisiana. Like they're doing a full stretch tour. How many people they can go after, attack, and terrorize is, I guess, something on their, their end of their year list, their quotas that they need to make. So they attacked these folks in this trailer park community out in Louisiana. Here, check this out.
Yeah, I was walking my granddaughter up to the bus stop. So and some of the kids were already up there, and then they had some coming behind me. So we were going to the bus stop, and I don't know, I was probably 2 trailers away from the bus stop. And we heard the sirens, and I'm looking at all the kids, and they running around, and there's like, oh, it's a fire truck. So they all got excited and they ran to the road. As they run into the road, here comes 6 cars, and they just coming in, and they're flying in. Kids had to run out of the middle of the bus stop. Like, they scattered. They almost ran over about 8 of these kids. Like, there was 5 of them standing in the group over here. And the last car that flew in literally was going so fast, and he swung so wide that he almost hit them kids standing there. I flashed out. like I got mad. I was like, what are y'all doing? Like, what is going on? And like, that's when I saw what was going. Like, I turned around and I looked, and I was like, that's besides the point. Like, I'm not even worried about that. Like, y'all, like, what the hell is going on? And like, I got into the man's face, and I don't care. Like, he walked up to me. He said, are we going to talk or are we going to yell? Dude, talking's over with. Like, I'm yelling. Those are kids, and y'all grown. Y'all are supposed to be police officers, and y'all just almost ran over a bunch of kids waiting on a bus. Y'all are sitting out here beating people up in front of these kids trying to go to school. Look at them. There are all the kids. They were crying. They were hysterical. They didn't even want to get on the bus. Like, some of the kids didn't even want to come out of their house. I had to go up to them like, baby, it's okay. If you want to go to school, you can come with me. I got you. Like, I got you. So I took all the kids to the bus stop. But at that point, they were all scared. They were terrified. They were crying. They went back in the house. I think maybe 8 kids got on the bus out of 15.
The scene down in Louisiana with ICE agents, Border Patrol, whoever the hell it is, illegal Gestapo deployed by Trump, attacked this community, sped in with trucks, damn near hit kids trying to go to school in the morning, all to go and attack one guy, attack one guy that was just, probably living his life. But the point there is to go and catch their quotas, terrorize people, be that terrorist organization that it is that they are. She wasn't done, though. As she talked about the plight with the kids, she also went into who it is that they went after, that they were attacking, what they did to him.
And the guy that you got up in his face, that was a Border Patrol agent?
It was.
Okay.
He was about this tall, shortcut, like buzz cut, Marine type haircut. He was the only one that wasn't wearing a face mask. He walked right up to me. And I was mad. I was already so mad at that point. I stepped up to him.
Could you say what happened when they pulled the man out of the car?
I didn't see what happened when they pulled the man out. When I walked up, they already had him out, and they were beating on him. Like, it looked like they were trying to put handcuffs on him, but they were beating him up. Like, they were beating on him, like gangster type beating on him.
Had arms wrapped
He had
around
4
him.
people beating on him at one time. It was one little dude.
Right on his
Like,
face. If his face ain't
he
messed
didn't
up,
need, he didn't need 4 people beating on him at one time.
So they threw him on his face.
They pulled him out and on the ground, on the face.
There's a reason they don't want videos being shown of their actions, as we've seen it happen. There's been videos posted of one of these agents changing someone's doorbell cam at the top of their door as they walked up and started beating on the door. They get upset anytime anyone's patrolling and watching behind them, because they don't want any evidence of their illegal activities. That's what criminals do. And so, as she's pointing out what is they're doing to the guy, and she had to run up on them and tell them, yo, you're about to kill folks here, and specifically these kids, they just don't care. Like, that's part of the fun for them. So again, this is what they're upset about. This is the way they react when people watch them. This is the way they react when people record them, and they get super aggressive about it because they're criminals. Do these guys look like law enforcement? Do they look like thugs?
One and only warning to quit obstructing us
I'm
right
not
now.
obstructing anything, sir.
One and only warning, buddy. One and only warning. You got it? You got it?
Warning.
You understand?
I'm not obstructing.
Yeah.
I'm not obstructing. I'm
One
observing.
more time, you're going to jail.
I'm not obstructing.
One more time,
I'm
you're
not
going to
obstructing.
jail.
I'm observing.
Got it.
Take a video of him.
I'm not
This is
obstructing.
the
I'm
warning.
observing.
This is your one and only warning.
One and only warning, sir.
Next time you will be arrested for impeding.
One more time.
Sir, this is your
I'm not
warning.
obstructing.
Stop
I'm not obstructing.
This is your one and only warning to quit
I'm not.
obstructing us
I'm
right
not
now.
obstructing.
They got 6 of these sorry ass coward sons of bitches surrounding this guy's car to warn him one more time. not to follow, not to record, not to observe them. That's the most important thing to them right then. They're not attacking anyone currently. These sorry asses that cover up their faces so they won't get punched in the fucking nose, they're the ones who are concerned about someone recording them. This is the level of snowflake that we've got out in the streets attacking folks. So I feel like whenever they're actually engaged in a fight, they would lose it. That is, unless they've got their gang surrounding them. So imagine the same scenario, except you got 6 Latino guys surrounding someone's car, pointing at them in their face with fingers in their windows, and you got one more warning, or we're gonna fuck you up. I feel like it's just wild, like assumption that there might be a whole bunch of comments talking about how you should shoot them all. I feel like that's what so many white Americans would tell folks to do if you got a gang of minority immigrants running up on your car masked so that you don't identify them, threatening to fuck you up. But it's illegal to do that when you're under a fascist president. I keep wanting to kind of show the difference. Once this happens, it means fascism is going on. So as I pointed out, there was instances of folks that get attacked by ICE and Border Patrol agents. And what they don't want is video. But sad for them, this Somali American man was attacked, and there was video.
I was even outside for mere seconds before I seen a masked person running at me full speed. He tackled me. I told him I'm a U.S. citizen. He didn't seem to care. He dragged me outside through the snow while I was handcuffed, restrained, helpless. And he pushed me to the ground, and he put me in a chokehold. And he said, "We are taking you into Bishop Henry, all the way in Bloomington." I did my fingerprints, and they finally let me go. They said, "No, you have to walk in the snow." Eventually, my parents came and picked me up.
Our residents deserve better from the federal government.
Random efforts in which individuals who are being stopped because they appear to be Latino or because they appear to be Somali is wrong.
What happened to me was unjust, uncalled for.
We're demanding accountability, immediate changes on how these operations are being carried out.
Hold on. He's still talking. So that man there, Mubashir, I believe is the correct way to pronounce it. Apologies if I didn't. Is telling his story of being attacked by these Border Patrol ICE agents up in Minneapolis because he's Somali American. So upon being attacked, they don't care about any documentation that they actually have no right to demand, but how they slammed him up against walls, ran him into this restaurant, and attacked him. And as you saw there's a police chief that was talking and vouching on his side, as well as the mayor, I believe, of Minneapolis, speaking with them. But I want to give Mubashir more time to tell his full story of what happened and what he tried to do to mitigate this attack from these, thugs.
And I never expected to be standing in front of all these cameras and microphones. But what happened to me cannot stay quiet. What happened to me was unjust, uncalled for. I was simply on my lunch break. I literally went downstairs from my building. I was even outside for mere seconds before I seen a masked person running at me full speed. He tackled me, pushed me inside the restaurant, like as you can see in the video. I told him I'm a U.S. citizen. What is going on? He didn't seem to care. He dragged me outside through the snow while I was handcuffed, restrained, helpless, and he pushed me to the ground, and he put me in a chokehold. And that was very uncalled for. I could have got really hurt. And after that, they put me inside the vehicle. And they asked me, "We have to verify if you're a U.S. citizen because I believe you're an illegal citizen because you ran for me." But as you can see in the videos that will be released, I'm simply just standing still. I asked them, okay, they said, "Let me take a picture of you to scan your face to see if you're a U.S. citizen." I declined because how will a picture prove I'm a U.S. citizen? I told them I have my passport. It's in my phone. Can I open and show you? He declined. I told him, "Can I give you my name and my date of birth?" He declined because they turned off my phone. They turned off my location. They don't, you don't know where you're at. So I asked him, "Can you take me back to where you picked me up from?" They said, "No, you have to walk in the snow."
So a street gang runs up on you, screams and yells, and then you run. Maybe they got guns on their hips, and you run away. And they said that's suspicious enough for us to then go attack you further. Except this particular street game acted like they were asking for some kind of documentation that this man is supposed to somehow provide to them, that he's a U.S. citizen. And their basis for attacking him like this was that he ran from their, attacks. It's weird. It's like human nature. And if you fight them and punch their cowardly asses in the throat, a nice chop, and then a swift kick to their nutsack, then they'll say that you're assaulting them while they assault you. But as you saw, this guy, he was sent off, deported somewhere, phone taken, and location services turned off. All of this is very specific, and it's a strategy and it's a pattern for how they do business. So they're looking to kidnap and disappear people. And then afterwards, when they discover that they're wrong, because they knew they were wrong the whole time, then they let him go, but still punish him by saying, walk in the snow. Here's the rest of his story, because as they were sent off and as he was sent off and told to then go torture himself further in the snow, his parents had to come get him.
But eventually my parents came and picked me up. And yeah, all I did was step outside as a Somali American, and I just got chased by a masked person. The agent then, at one point, he didn't identify himself. He didn't say ICE, stop. Like, I felt like I was getting assaulted. I was getting kidnapped, and that's exactly what it was. And the way they were treating me, it was inhumane. They dragged me across the road. They slammed me to the ground, choked me. That was uncalled for. There's also more videos of someone came out. They had a copy of my passport, and I told the agent, he has my passport copy, and he said, we don't care, we're still taking you in. And they kept me for 2 hours. And if this is what's happening to a U.S. American citizen on camera, imagine what could happen to your loved ones when there's no one around to witness what they're doing.
Probably one of the better points. We got all these videos and they're still doing it. We have all these videos of them assaulting people, shooting people. I showed you guys a couple times that woman up in Chicago that got shot 5 times and then was miraculously survived that attack. But they lied and said she rammed them. They lied and said this guy was running, and then they attacked them. So if you attack back and whoop their ass, then they pull out guns and get to shooting at people because they're cowards. This is how they react. So again, I feel like there's multiple levels and the reasons why they do this. First of all, is to get their rocks off so they can attack people, jump them on the ground and act like that they're doing some kind of work. And then if you fight back, then they can get to shoot you. And then if this grows and more people get to attacking them back, then they start saying it's time for us to evoke this insurrection act, as we've been hoping that we could do this whole time. But in the meantime, let's take as many people in, disappear them, separate them from their families, disappear a few children as well, put them in the detention facilities where people have died, people are very sick, they're in inhumane conditions. And then when people get upset about that, you talk about how they deserve it all because we're run by this white supremacist. But you guys saw the police chief standing behind him there. And I was like, something, again, back to the actionable part about all these devastating stories, people in positions of power. It's not just politicians. When is this police chief maybe going to do something? He did have some words to say, though.
Like the mayor, I apologize that this happened to you in my city with people wearing vests that say police. That's embarrassing. But what really gets me is that this is just one story today. And it's a little overwhelming, just the volume of stories we're trying to sift through and figure out what's true and what's not, and kind of what may be happening. Like our mayor has said, we understand federal law enforcement has a job to do. To the extent that federal law enforcement is being precise, conducting targeted operations, and making lawful arrests, we understand that. I have no objection to that, of course. We would just hope that at least from a tactical perspective, things could be well planned beforehand, both for the safety of law enforcement as well as for the safety of people in our community, and that we wouldn't have to deal with so many stories after the fact of what at the very least are just questionable methods. And clearly a use of resources that doesn't appear to be getting a return on investment.
So the police chief apologized to the man, Brian O'Hara, the police chief. Apologized to him, is embarrassed by the use of these guys, these Border Patrol agents, and folks that have police written on the front of their vests, attacking him like this. He's embarrassed and he apologized. Okay, good on him. I'm curious. Then what are you going to do about it? Because you see, he's upset about it. It's embarrassing. Apparently, there's all this tax dollars being spent that aren't getting a return on their investment. But he has more of a hope that maybe they would do something differently. He has a hope that they maybe won't go about these types of things in the future. A hope that maybe they would maybe put us on notice of their illegal activities before they do them. Do you think police chiefs in any city in any state in this country would say to a roving gang that's running through the streets with guns out and attacking and kidnapping people, do you think they'd say, we'd hope that this roving gang would stop committing illegal activities? We would hope that this roving gang would stop smashing and slamming people on the concrete with their faces in the dirt and almost killing a couple kids in the process. We would hope that they wouldn't do it anymore. Or would they say, we've got the names and faces of the suspects, and we're gonna find you. You probably want to hide out because we're coming for your ass. If you're concerned about your community being attacked by Border Patrol and ICE agents, why aren't you doing something about it? He hopes that they just stop, because the plan for law enforcement, for police officers in every state and every city that we've ever seen, is to hope that the criminals stop doing it. There's fucking gang divisions in police departments, specifically put aside to investigate and go after gangs, because gangs wreak havoc on communities, right? It terrorizes people. So when you've got a white gang running through communities and attacking black and minority and black and brown minorities, what you do is hope that they stop doing the things that Donald Trump told them to do. This is more of his focus.
I am proud of how the men and women of the Minneapolis Police Department have been handling this. With people in the field last night, with some of our lieutenants this morning that have been dealing with this and monitoring the situation. I wish the public could see how well they are managing such a difficult role, and a volume of which that they're trying to manage and trying to sift through and figure out what's true and what's not, while we're still trying to do our day-to-day responsibilities. That being said, again, random efforts in which individuals who are, including individuals who are American citizens, are being stopped because they appear to be Latino or because they appear to be Somali is wrong.
Yeah.
I agree. He's saying all the right things. When are you going to do the right things? And you know what, even as I was watching this, I think my opinion on this has shifted a little bit. As I was watching it originally, I was like, yo, it's good on the police chief for coming out and saying the right thing. I wanted to show it for the purpose of saying, like, look, there's folks who understand, because I feel like these police departments have been supporting and just standing by while these guys do all this stuff. And I was like, look, we got a police chief up in Minneapolis that's willing to talk about it, specifically have this particular victim on to talk about it and stand next to him and apologize how embarrassed he is of what is that happened. But it still all came kind of flat once I listened to it the third time. He hopes that they'll stop doing it. He's embarrassed by this whole thing. But, you know, this whole situation was handled great by his police department because they have a lot of other things happening, which I'll give them that too. You got to do your normal day-to-day crime, and then you got these criminals that have invaded your city. It's one of those moments where you have to evoke like the National Guard to come in and take care of all of these criminals because they're overwhelming your police department. But he's proud of them for the things that they're doing. I'm not allowed to say the things that I'm thinking about saying now. But let me give you a few accounts. Pause for a second, though, you guys. I want to first off thank you guys for being here for the stream. If you're new to it, we do it every day at noon. Glad you're here. Like this stream if you're enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, bro, like it anyway, because that's fun. Why not? It's a thumbs up is always better than a thumbs down. Also, share these videos will be up later on the stream as well. But I want to share with you guys some of the actual, because what they do, and it was whenever we see these conservative, these MAGA types, these administration officials go and talk about how these folks are animals and dogs and all this stuff. There's a dehumanization process. It's what we've always done in this country. When we had enslaved people, it was a dehumanization process. When we've killed people, put them in internment camps, there's a dehumanization process. Every time these white supremacists do these things, they do it with a dehumanization. So sometimes you have to reinsert the humans that they're attacking. Make sure people understand who it is that they're doing this to and how bad the effect that it's had on them. Because we're supposed to just not care anymore. That is, until it happens to you. That's kind of what happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Completely separate thing. But Richard Blumenthal here is giving some of these victims a voice. But first, he's talking about how badly they've been treated.
This report ought to shock America's conscience. Americans should be shocked to read these stories. 22 American citizens treated in a way we would not tolerate anyone in this great nation, our fellow citizens, being abused and mistreated. Americans should have a hard time recognizing our great nation in these shocking, stomach-turning stories of fellow Americans assaulted brutally by agents of the United States government. This report ought.
So that's Senator Blumenthal there releasing this report. It's his new report featuring accounts of citizens that are assaulted and illegally detained by these employees of the Department of Homeland Security. So he's got these accounts, and in releasing that account, as he said, if you read it, you'd be appalled by the, dehumanization and the things that we've done to folks. And he interviewed several of them and told their stories. This first little bit here is we asked them what it is that they actually did when they were first encountered by these thug criminal the agents of Donald Trump.
Let me ask each of you, did you make an effort to tell the agent, masked, unidentified, from an unmarked car, that you were a United States citizen? And did you make an effort to present identification? Mr. Reddes?
Yes, I made it very clear that I was a U.S. citizen. It was the first thing out of my mouth. They asked me if I had an ID. I told them I did. I told them that I was a citizen. I said I have license plate that could prove I'm a disabled veteran. I have a sticker on my windshield that says I'm an Iraq combat veteran. I gave them any opportunity they wanted for me to show them proof.
I did have a chance to eventually let them know, but that was already after I was in FBI custody, so maybe like 4 hours into the assault.
Yes, I was at an airport. They had my passport and everything else. I came through trusted travel programs, the lane that you're supposed to just go through in a few seconds. I've had them for years. I've been extensively vetted. I'm an educator and superintendent. We go through lots of background checks. The government has a lot of information on me. They knew exactly who I was.
Yes, I told them multiple times I was a U.S. citizen. I gave them my real ID and my driver's license.
Yes, they do. I told them multiple times I have my passport. I had my passport with me, and I told them I was born in San Bernardino. They were just replying, you know what, we're not asking for that. So I was asking, what are you detained for?
Weird. It's very similar to the story that the Somali American man told about being confronted, chased when he wasn't running, and slammed against doors of this restaurant. And then when providing the papers that he shouldn't even have to provide, as the rest of these folks tried to do or did, they don't care. The response is, I don't need that. I'm here to attack you. I'm a criminal. That's the idea. It's not to actually get to the bottom of it. So when people say stupid shit like, you have nothing to worry about as long as you're not doing anything. So when they're not doing anything and they still should have nothing to worry about, how come they're still being attacked is always the next question. Because their job, these DHS and ICE agents and Border Patrol guys, Proud Boys and Klans members, their job is to attack people. They get off by attacking folks. And it's even better for them if they're black and brown folks. Here's one particular lady that was talking about how she was giving her information and what they then did to her afterwards.
Ms. Velez, after detaining you for 48 hours, despite being a United States citizen, despite showing them proof that you were a U.S. citizen, you were then charged with assault. They allege that you hit the officer in the face. Now, we saw the video. You never hit that officer. It was a total lie. And after your lawyer requested the officer's body camera footage, your lawyer requested it, the charge against you was suddenly dropped. What did the Department of Homeland Security say happened, and what did the video show?
They said that I had assaulted an officer. I struck them in the face, which is incorrect because they were huge, and I'm really small.
You are
I'm 4'11".
not a big person.
Not a big person, but
So you never hit that officer in the face.
no, I did not.
So they attack a 4'11" small woman, charge her with assaulting them because they're cowards, because they're little bitches, because if you do hit them in the face, they might drop and be knocked the fuck out. That's why. And then when asked for actual evidence behind it, suddenly the charges are dropped. It's weird because it's also what they did to the guy up in Minnesota. Claimed he was running when, by the way, you have a right to run. Claimed he was running, claimed he wasn't given papers, and then when all that came forward, all these charges were suddenly dropped. It's weird. It's like it's the way they operate. It's almost like what they tell them they should do. Someone gives you the information that you're supposed to demand, and then when they give it to you, say, I don't need it, I don't give a damn about any of that. Then after you take them and assault them, then claim that you got assaulted. Man, what a gang of bitches. I mean, usually, street gangs are something you have to look out for because, they're ruthless, violent, and generally will just run up and attack you and won't call themselves victims afterwards. They might talk about how they fucked you up, but afterwards they won't then go say, I can't believe you'd look at me like that. Here's one more bit of these accounts of people that were victimized by these little babies.
I want to ask each of you, as my final question, about the lasting effects on you.
Yeah, I don't feel safe to this day.
And Mr. Ramirez, you mentioned your diabetes. Did that have an effect on you, being kept in detention without the proper care?
Yeah, as soon as I was released, I had to go to a hospital, get medical care.
Ms. Figueroa, what effect did it have on you to be dragged from that car? We saw the video of you being manhandled and assaulted by those agents.
I feel violated. I've never felt this disgusted in my life. I'm so proud to be an American, and since that happened, I'm embarrassed.
I'd say the effects it had on me is that it's really just that there's really a lot of cracks in our law. It showed me that even though everything that I fought for over there, even though it says what we do for our service, I wasn't treated like anything over here. And so for me, it was just a disgrace.
If you were here when I gave my testimony, you would understand how much I love my mother, and I do not want to ever stop having the ability to visit her, even if it's once a year or twice a year. And the fact that now I do not feel like I am free to visit my mother without being scared that I will be detained or disappeared at any time for any reason. I don't think that any American should be deprived from the right to visit their mother.
Do you think those citizens of this country trust anything about this country anymore? Do you think they have a reason to? Like, nobody asks these politicians, these MAGA politicians, these questions to make them have to then directly and explicitly say, yeah, I hate them. Yeah, I back up the guy who doesn't respect their rights. Make them answer the question, because it's one or the other. Either they have to look really bad by saying, yeah, I'm okay with this, or they have to continue to say, yes. All right, they have to be truthful and say, we shouldn't be doing this. One or the other has to happen, and neither one of those answers they want to say out loud. They just want to continue to support this whole thing. One of those guys is an Iraq War veteran, the Latino man. I believe he was out in California when they assaulted and kidnapped him. denied and ignored all of his proof of citizenship and his veteran status, and then attacked him anyway. So this whole Make America Great Again thing, it harkens back to civil rights eras when Black veterans came back from war, came back from serving their country, and got treated like they didn't even matter, got treated like trash, got treated worse than people who didn't sacrifice themselves for this country. It's still happening right now. It's happening right now. And this guy's telling his story, and there's so many people plugging their ears, closing their eyes, and shaking their heads. It's the American way. It's what they were talking about when they said they wanted to make America great again. It wasn't the great part. It was the horrible parts. And specifically for people that white supremacists dislike. There's no argument anymore for denying that these guys are white supremacists, that these guys are Klansmen, that these guys are targeting minorities. So just want to give you that quick update, that 32-minute update. Better news though. In case you guys want to hang around longer, I've got a whole third thing to talk about. Maybe it's the fourth thing I've been talking about today. Let's move on to this next aspect. Yes, I'm going to go over. I appreciate you guys. There's 3 minutes until you guys jump over to the damage report. That is, if you're going to be crazy enough to jump over to the damage report. I'm playing. But if you guys do take off, don't forget, like on your way out the door. And also these videos will be back up. The last one that you may miss, you'll see it up on the page later. Come by, check it out, share that as well. But don't forget to subscribe or else you won't know about this stuff, right? I mean, you crazy? These two things don't match up. How are you going to come back and find it if you don't know about it? Okay, let me move on. Back on this guy's economy. Maybe you guys saw Jerome Powell talking about what is it they're now going to do in response to this economy and just how much of it they're going to do. There it is. Let's listen to this guy.
In support of our goals, in light of the balance of risks to employment and inflation, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 0.25 percentage point. As a separate matter, we also decided to initiate purchases of shorter-term Treasury securities solely for the purpose of maintaining an ample supply of reserves over time, thus supporting effective control of our policy rate. Inflation has eased significantly from its highs in mid-2022, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer run goal. Very little data on inflation have been released since our meeting in October.
There's Jerome Powell. Someone I have to listen to 3 times before I fully understand what he's talking about. Man, I had one professor like Jerome Powell once, and I was like, oh my God, like, I think I need to have this guy repeat everything. Like, he's not speaking, like mumbled or nothing, but guy just, man, I don't know. There's something about the way he speaks and what he's talking about that just goes in one ear and then just like stays in that one ear. Doesn't even go through. Anyways, he's a boring guy. Anyway, so Jerome Powell is talking about this Fed rate, this rate that they're now dropping. They're dropping it again. Maybe Donald Trump will be happy, but he did also mention this inflation rate is going at a pace that they're not really comfortable with. Maybe that's reasons why he's dropping this rate just a little bit, not to the degree that he actually wants. But more about that inflation that's going on and the reasons behind it. He addressed that as well, too. This was maybe this part of the news that Donald Trump didn't want to hear.
Total PCE prices rose 2.8% over the 12 months ending in September. And excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices also rose 2.8%. These readings are higher than earlier in the year as inflation for goods has picked up, reflecting the effects of tariffs.
So the inflation for goods is picked up because of tariffs. Isn't that weird? It's like people have been saying that forever. It's almost like people were saying it while the president of the United States was campaigning and said that that's not how these things work. He's always done that. And it's pretty much common knowledge. It always has been that that's the case. But in a fascist administration, what you do is you don't listen to normal reality. You just screw yourself over for the sake of the ego of the dictator that's in the White House. Hey, speaking of that dictator that's in the White House, he is so upset. He's mad that boring Jerome Powell was talking like that and mentioned what tariffs do, reality.
When we announce good results, the market should go up. Now it's when you announce good results, Michael, the market goes down because they say, oh, that means things are good. That means we're going to kill it by raising interest rates. I think it's really wrong. It should be the opposite of what it is now. It should be the way it used to be. we announced good results. The market should go up, and we should keep driving it up and have it keep going up and let it be much, much bigger, much, much better. And, growth doesn't mean inflation. They're always afraid that, and if there is inflation, that's okay, then we can slow it down. But we should be able to do a lot better than 3 and 4. We're scheduled to be at 4%, which is pretty amazing because we have a deadhead Fed hair. I mean, this guy, the head of the Federal Reserve is a stiff. And, you fight that. It's amazing. We fight that, and yet interest rates are going down, except with him, not too much. He did a rather, I would say, a rather small number that could have been doubled, at least doubled. And that's the other thing. I think the rates for the United States are always the lowest in the world, because without us, there is no world. Without this economy, there's no world.
Does anything he say ever make any sense? So of course, he's unhappy at the level of the rate that Jerome Powell and these guys decided to drop it. It's what he always wants, but it's not enough. It should be doubled. It should be doubled with all that. Again, if we're in this golden age that he keeps talking about, while at the same time in a rebuilding age because he inherited a bad economy, both things can't make sense at the same time. But anyways, we'll go with the golden age part that he's talking about. That's when Fed rates aren't dropping. Why would they drop Fed rates when everybody's got money and then everyone else can make more money off of any kind of loans or house purchases or cars and all that stuff that you would like to buy with all that money and all those jobs that everyone has. But instead, he wants the rates to be cut while we're in a golden age. The problem is, again, he doesn't know what he's talking about, or he wants things to just his reality to be fit regardless of what his actual reality is. But there's a big part of the reality of this economy that he keeps ignoring, even on the parts when he's bragging and lying about everything else that's happening with tens of millions and billions and trillions of dollars coming in. There's another big part about it. And boring ass Jerome Powell again, he addressed that.
Why did we move today? I would say point to a couple of things. First of all, gradual cooling in the labor market has continued. Unemployment is now up 0.3 from June through September. Payroll jobs averaging 40,000 per month since April. We think there's an overstatement in these numbers by about 60,000. So that would be negative 20,000 per month. Why did we move today?
Did you hear that? So again, they suspend all these numbers for jobs. This is the big part of it that they just don't really want to talk about. They've been saying we've been getting out 20,000 jobs added, which is already paltry enough. This is what Trump's people said after they suspended any kind of normal accounting for job numbers, unemployment numbers and all that. But they've overestimated by about 60,000 with that number, according to Jerome Powell. So actually, we've been losing about 40,000 a month, 40,000 jobs a month being lost. That's why also this administration doesn't like any of when they revised the numbers a month later, but they eliminated all that. Have we heard anything about the Bureau of Labor Statistics coming back around after he fired the commissioner of that and said he's going to appoint someone else that's going to do the job right? And then I remember those folks with Trump derangement syndrome said weird things like, they're not going to revive anything from the BLS. They have no interest in doing that because all it can give them is really bad news, because all he comes up with, all of his policies produce is really bad news because he's a really, really bad president. In fact, he's a fascist. But I'm glad someone finally asked him, because since none of his points make any sense, since at the same time there's an affordability crisis, while at the same time affordability is also a hoax, someone finally asked him, what the fuck does that mean, you dummy?
You all watched last night's rally. Can you clarify, you have called the affordability crisis as a Democratic hoax, but you also want to make America affordable again?
No, the word that they use is a hoax, and because they're the ones that caused the problem. I'm talking about when you're trying to say it a different way. That's pretty simple, though, if you listen. It's a hoax where they created the problem. They're the ones that gave the high prices. So when they use the word affordability, they shouldn't be using that word because they're the ones that created this problem. They created the highest inflation in history, and they created the highest prices in history. And now we have to get those things down. But when they go, they look and they say affordability. They never discuss it. They just say the election's about affordability. Well,
We all looked at last night's rally.
He's not beating any of these reputations he's built off of his mass stupidity. He also didn't have any good answer for that question. The Democrats gave high prices. What does that mean? They gave high prices. Does he think that, like, Joe Biden was walking in every grocery store in America and was just like slapping new stickers on everything? What do you mean he gave high prices? He declared high prices. He told everyone that they have to raise their prices. He doesn't know. He doesn't know anything. He literally doesn't know, or doesn't have enough time to think about it because his brain is slow. So he keeps talking about this like there's been this like manipulation of what is it they're going to do based off of a declaration from somebody who says high prices. What is he talking about? What is he actually talking about? One of his people in his cabinet, in his administration, she also doesn't know what she's talking about. And for some reason, finally, this Bloomberg reporter decided to tell her, we don't know what you're, hold on, that's not supposed to be happening that way. We don't know what you're talking about or why you're saying these things. This is Kelly Loeffler. Let's see if it'll come up this time. No, not yet. Hold on. So Kelly Loeffler went on this Bloomberg program to give, I guess, her best shot at explaining this nonsense that they keep talking about. So we're supposed to have some information based off of what's real and what's not. Let's see if this will happen this time. No. There you are, Kelly. Crazy face.
Just to get back to where we started here, Administrator, to make sure I understand, you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that consumer confidence was rebounding and that inflation was cooling. Since we haven't managed to find evidence of that in our conversation today, is that your expectation in the near term, or is that something you believe is actually happening now?
It's actually happening. The Trump agenda is counter-inflationary because if you look at gas prices, if you look at interest rates, down double digits since the president came in just the first 10 months. So what we're seeing is major family expenditures are coming down. But look, it's going to take time.
Just to get...
If you've been listening as much as I've been forced to, it's the same recited talking points. She doesn't even know what she's talking about anymore. She just got grilled that whole thing in her head, and this anchor had to ask her, we have no evidence of any of these things that you're talking about. What about gas prices will prove that? You mean those higher gas prices? You mean the opposite of reality of what we're seeing? If you look at the gas prices, you'll understand that things are great. There's no inflation. If you listen to Jerome Powell tell you what's happening, you'll understand that actually inflation is happening at a rate that he's uncomfortable with. And what she pointed out, this is the main point, is if you look at those interest rates, they're dropping. That means it's a great deal, which is why that whole talking point they want fulfilled by someone on the back end in Jerome Powell's position to act like that's something that's happening, number one. And also, number two, that it's great. But he's a deadhead now. So at least someone's speaking out. The problem is it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. And as we go through her interview, and she was talking on CBS about her beef, her ongoing and continuous beef with Donald Trump now. She's talking this time outside of the Epstein files that we'll see. I'm suspicious that she's going to abandon that, and there's a reason why she's running out of Congress. But also on the economy, this is what she had to say.
Would you get the president? I think it's hard for a lot of people to take. Look, electric bills have gone up. Everyone's bills have either stayed the same or going higher. Grocery prices have not gone down. Everybody suffered from inflation that happened during the Biden administration. And I think the president needs to be aware that he's a billionaire, president of the United States, and you can't gaslight people and tell them that their bills are affordable. And you can't tell them that the economy is an A+++. You just can't do that. And I think it's insulting to people's intelligence. And I don't care how many charts he wants to throw up. People literally know because they're the ones standing at the checkout counter in a grocery store. Let's be real, President Trump doesn't go to the grocery store and do his own grocery shopping. And they're the ones buying their kids clothes and all kinds of goods and supplies for their families. There are also the small business owners that are struggling to continue their small businesses under tariffs that have made it hard. These are also manufacturing plants that are still struggling under tariffs and trying to work a new trade system and a volatile system. So I would encourage the president to have some empathy and to change his tone and how he speaks to Americans about how bad they're financially hurting.
She would encourage Donald Trump to go against everything else he's ever said. She would encourage Donald Trump to not continue to destroy people's lives. But she did point out that he doesn't do his own grocery shop and that he's a billionaire, a rich, disconnected billionaire who wants to destroy your life. So if that's basically what she's talking about, which is what she was talking about, when is she going to do something about this? Yeah, you only got like a month left, lady, before you run away. What are you going to do about it? Do you think he should continue to destroy people's lives? Do you think when you go home and do nothing else except prepare and plan for your next higher office that you hope to get from this flip that you did, as you then take off in the middle of it, so that maybe the taste in people's mouths will think that you're a decent person? Are you going to do something about it beforehand? Is she going to go on the floor of the House of Representatives and read the lists, as she promised, of these perpetrators of these child sex trafficking rings that were involved with Jeffrey Epstein? Is she going to do that? Because I remember she made news for saying that she would do all that. She's making news right now for saying that Donald Trump is a deadbeat president and doesn't know anything about the economy, and people don't want to be gaslit anymore. She's saying all that, but it's weird when you say all that and don't do anything about it. It turns into you just saying all that for your your own purposes, your own political expediency, and hoping that people will start seeing you as someone that you are not. But she did point out that affordability thing too.
A grade of A+++++. What grade would you give the president?
I think it's hard for a lot of people to take. Look, electric bills have gone up. Everyone's bills have either stayed the same or going higher. Grocery prices have not gone down. Everybody suffered from inflation that happened during the Biden administration. And I think the president needs to be aware that he's a billionaire, president of the United States, and you can't gaslight people and tell them that their bills are affordable.
Do you still believe that Republicans will likely lose the midterms? And if so, do you believe it will be over this issue?
I do believe at this time that Republicans will lose the midterms, and I think that's unfortunate. I very much wanted to be part of a Republican majority in Congress that solved problems for the American people.
So why don't you be a part of fixing that? Because she's a destructive force. That's all she's ever been able to do. And now it's back to, self-serving moves and motions like this. I'm sorry, bro. I know some people have flipped on Marjorie Taylor Greene because she knows how to say these things that make sense for the first time. But as usual, every time she speaks, this is a new interview. This is a new interaction with CBS News, who I'm sure she's called fake news in the past, and also in support of these tariffs that she now says are hurting people. It's weird. It's weird how all that flips, but she's still not doing anything about it. This is the reasons why she's saying all this. It's because of their fight.
I actually am starting to feel very sorry for President Trump, and people just don't buy it. It's actually a very poor reflection on him that he chooses to speak about me that way. People know who I am. They know what I've done.
So Greene went on to call the president's comments demeaning. She said that it is unfortunate that he spoke so harshly about her. Of course, in that 60 Minutes interview, she talked about how some Republicans perceive the president, that they are terrified to step out of line. And she said that the president thinks that loyalty, unfortunately, is a one-way street.
Loyalty is a one-way street, Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about. So why is it you won't continue to point out that this guy shouldn't be in this position? Isn't it weird? Like, she goes up to that point and stops. Why do you want this guy who's all about backwards loyalty to still be in power? But she's saying all the right things. You know what I've been wondering? Last thing, I'm about to leave, I promise you guys. Her boyfriend, Brian Glenn, he works for one of those Newsmaxes or OANs. I can't remember which one. And he's been one of those conservative journalists that's been allowed in the press briefing room that previously wasn't, because they ask ridiculous questions and they just do things to try and, inflate the ego of Donald Trump. He's her boyfriend and also a Trump sycophant. So he's kind of caught in, like the middle. I believe it was a Washington Post piece about what he's doing in response to this beef that his girlfriend is having with Donald Trump. So Brian Glenn is lying low, they say in this piece. It wasn't that he felt the whole White House had turned against him, because Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt and Communications Director Stephen Chung had both sent him kind notes. But he didn't want his fellow reporters to feel uncomfortable asking Trump about the falling out with Green. And he didn't want to have to stand there and listen to Trump's response, especially since Trump's responses thus far had struck Glenn as unfair. Stand up for your woman, bro. Why you been a little bitch? Hey, the guy is attacking your girl. When are you going to do something about it? You thought it's unfair? Hey, tell him about it. Here's more. Like, this is a quote. Like, what are you talking about, man? She's one of your biggest supporters, is what he said. It was a tougher line of questioning than I'd ever seen him post to the president, this reporter was saying. She differs on a couple of issues, but she's still in your camp, he continued. She never left your camp, he says. Brian might want to watch his tongue, because, you can't cross the fascist in the White House when he finally turns on your girlfriend when she says 5 things that are true. But he's still in the press briefing room. I guess he's making sure that his head doesn't stick up too much like whack-a-mole before Donald Trump then comes after him. Here's the last part. Representative Tim Burchett said he's in a tough spot. He's a friend of the couple. And early this year, Glenn and Green looked like a power couple uniquely suited to thrive in Trump's Washington. But now that she's leaving town, where does that leave Brian Glenn? Here's the best quote. Look at this. Listen to this guy. I'm like the little divorced kid in the middle. And he really, really doesn't want to have to choose sides. Brian Glenn is a grown-ass man. Brian Glenn, I gotta be in his 50s. And he feels like the divorced kid in the middle of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump. His girlfriend and the president whose ass he kisses. He doesn't know which one to kiss. Maybe he gets these two confused, the ass and also Marjorie Taylor Greene. Either way, his smooches go all over the place. He doesn't want to lose mom and dad. What? This is the type of person you have to be in the good graces of Donald Trump, to be in the good graces of MAGA leadership. You have to be a subservient little kid. And when then a dust-up comes, when one person is telling the truth and Donald Trump loses his mind on them, you have to feel like a divorced little kid that doesn't want to choose sides. I don't like the term, but man up, bro. They call everyone else snowflakes and weaklings. This little guy. Anyways, that's enough for me. I've only gone over by 20 minutes. Enjoy the rest of y'all's day. Okay, have a good one. Tomorrow we got Friday happening. Plan and prepare your drinks. Yo, listen, my energy drink is in the fridge right now. I was tempted to drink it today, but I'm gonna have like a little bit of like clarity, a little bit of like wherewithal. And I'm gonna make sure that I save it for tomorrow. Maybe I'm telling myself all this. I don't drink it as soon as I finish this now. But we'll see you guys tomorrow on a Friday as usual to have a little bit of a party, a real party, as we go into the week. And hopefully there's some good news. Hopefully something came out of this hearing right now that I've been missing completely this whole time. We'll see. But also tell John over at the Damage Report, yeah, I'm late and it was a good party. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. And see you later, man.